Hey, I just wanted to make a quick video about Matthew 16, not the whole chapter, but verses 13 through the end. And we're talking about um, Jesus asking the disciples who the people, so not just them, but who the people think that he is. And the disciples reply with some different answers and mostly prophets. And then he specifically says, "But you, who do you say that I am?" And Simon is the first one, as usual, to speak up. And he says, "You are the Messiah, the Son of the living God." This is important because where they are, which is Caesarea Philippi, is a city that has a temple built to Augustus Caesar. And so they're worshiping Caesar. They worship a little g god, Pan, who's like the god of nature, kind of the god of everything. And so Simon saying, like, you're the Son of the living God, the only God, and you are the Messiah. So this is the one that we've been waiting for years and years and years, since our descendants have been, given this prophecy through the old time prophets and Old Testament times, and this, you are it, the one we're waiting for. So Jesus responds, the only way that you could have gotten this knowledge was from God. And so he's, kind of giving him an attaboy and I'm proud of you. And he says, I'm going to change your name to Peter, which means rock. And he says, I'm going to build my church on you. And so being the rock, the foundation, where we have to get this first level correct before we move on and build the rest of this church. And Jesus says, I will build my church on this rock. And he also says, I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. And so he's saying, I'm going to give you authority. You and the disciples, we're going to give you authority from heaven. And this is how we're going to build this new church, this new church based on the covenant. It's almost like a new time of Israel. So, picking up in verse 21, it says, from then on. So meaning from the time that they have established and declared that Jesus is the Messiah, which, by the way, in verse 20, he says, don't tell anybody I'm the Messiah. That has always been a little bit of a question. And I think that that's because they weren't ready to tell people who he was, because they still had some figuring out to do. And Jesus had more work to do before the leaders started coming after him. He knows what's going to happen. And so it says, from then on, he starts to tell the disciples that he's going to suffer. They're going to come after him. He has to go back to Jerusalem, which that's where all the people were that were trying to do him harm. He is going to be killed and he's going to be raised on the third day. So this is the pivotal point right here that for a long time I didn't understand. And the more that I've read it, I'm amazed at all that is in it. So Peter takes Jesus aside and he says, no, Lord, no, we can't, that can't happen to you. And Jesus turns to him and he says, get behind me, Satan. You are a hindrance to me because you're not thinking about God's concerns, but human concerns. And so the more I looked into that and the more that I read about that, it made me start to realize, okay, what is Peter trying to do here? Well, Peter's trying to get him to stay in a comfortable life. He doesn't want suffering for him. He doesn't want him to die. It's his friend. Totally understandable. But Jesus is saying, you're becoming a spokesperson for Satan. Not that Peter was actually Satan, but you are doing the same things that Satan was trying to do to me when I was just starting my ministry. Now we're at the end of Jesus' ministry. At the beginning of Jesus' ministry, we know that he was led into the desert. He did not eat for 40 days and 40 nights, so he was hungry. And then Satan came to him and he tempted him with 3 different things. He tempted him with bread because he was hungry. He tempted him with protection. Go ahead and fall from this building and see that God won't, protect you, and his angels will come around you. And so you won't be hurt. So bread when he was hungry, protection, and also wealth and power and status and success. And so what are those three things? They are signs of a comfortable life where we don't really need God. It's kind of that comfort bubble that sometimes we want to stay in. And so Peter is coming to Jesus, and he's tempting him to evade the cross. He's tempting him to say, you don't need to do that. We can just go on and keep having ministry together. And so Jesus is saying, no, I am not going to take this temptation from you. You are choosing the same tactics that Satan did, and that's not okay. And so I don't think that he, meant that Peter was Satan, but he is using the same tactics and becoming like a spokesperson of, Satan's pull in our lives to stay comfortable and not be obedient. Because then he says, you're not thinking about God's concerns, but human concerns, those human concerns of comfort. And I don't want to suffer. And I just want to be happy and, live a comfortable life. And so then right after that, Jesus turns to his disciples. And this is when he says, if you want to come after me and follow me, then you're going to have to take up a cross, which, we know that almost all of the disciples ended up being martyred in different ways. But more than that, he had just talked to Peter about this, and now he's telling all of them, you're not going to have a comfortable life. If you want to follow me, it's going to be uncomfortable. He says later to them, the world is going to hate you, but remember, it hated me first. And so he's kind of preparing them for saying, like, it's not going to benefit you to stay in this comfortable, successful, powerful, money-making way of life. It's going to be hard. It's going to take, some suffering. It's going to take some persecution. But he's saying, whoever loses his life because of me will find it. We're going to find eternal life when we have to deal with that suffering. And then it says, for the Son of Man is going to come with his angels in the glory of his Father, and then he will reward each according to what he has done. And so he's telling them, like, this life that you're going to find is going to outlast what this world has to give you. Someday I'm going to come back, and you're going to get rewarded for the suffering that you've done. And then the last part of that chapter, it says, truly I tell you, there are some standing here who will not taste death until they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. And I think that is talking about the transfiguration, sorry, that's a mouthful, that happens 6 days later, where Peter, James, and John actually get to see and experience a little bit of the kingdom of heaven, because they see Moses and Elijah, they hear God's voice. We'll talk about that another day, but just, the glory of God, covers them and everything. And he's like, stick with me. You're going to see bigger and better things. And so I don't think that Jesus was being harsh to Peter. I think he was saying, like, you have to start thinking, if you realize that I'm the Messiah, which you just said that I am, if you want to follow after me, you're going to have to start thinking about God's concerns and not your own. You're going to have to start thinking about the good of all the people and what's going to benefit everyone and not just yourself. You're going to have some hard times, and that's going to make you want to turn away, and you're going to have to stick with it. And so I think that's why he said too, like, you're not ready to tell everybody that I'm the Messiah yet. We need to get this foundation. So I love that he says, Peter is this rock. He actually, so in my version, which I use the CSB, it says, you are a hindrance to me. And in other versions, it says, you are a stumbling block. So he makes kind of a play on words there, that you're not being the rock right now. You're being a stumbling block. You need to get behind me, because I'm trying to lay this foundation. And if we don't get this first level correct, everything else is going to be out of whack. And so You're not ready to tell people that I'm the Messiah yet because we still have some learning to do. So hope that helped. Just some confusion and some questions. Let me know if you have any other questions.